There are two terms that you'll hear a lot when you read about Roman history, and those two terms are patrician and plebeian. And I think that people often misunderstand what those two terms, patrician and plebeian, mean, so I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about it. Most students see the word patrician and plebeian and think upper class and lower class, and that's not really quite accurate. The terms patrician and plebeian don't refer to social classes in the way that we're used to in the world today. Instead, they refer to what sociologists might call a social caste system, C-A-S-T-E. A caste is sort of a social unit that you're born into. And so if you're born a patrician, you will remain a patrician your entire life. And if you're born a plebeian, you will remain a plebeian your entire life. And you can never switch from one to the other. Today we think of people being in the upper class or the middle class or the lower class. These terms aren't castes, right? Because if you're born rich, you could die poor, and if you're born poor, you could die rich. But if you're born a patrician or you're born a plebeian, you will always remain patricians or plebeians. Now, in the very, very early period of Roman history, from the founding of the city down until maybe the 300s BC, these terms, patrician and plebeian, were very, very important because the rights of citizenship were sort of apportioned differently based on whether you were a patrician or if you were a plebeian. Plebeians in the very early period in Roman history were not allowed to hold public office. There were many priesthoods and official positions that plebeians could not hold, and patricians monopolized political power. Now that did come to an end. By the time of the end of the Roman Republic, the days of Julius Caesar and Mark Antony and the like, there was legally almost no difference at all between patricians and plebeians. However, patricians still tended to be wealthier than plebeians, but this was not 100% accurate. There were many, many wealthy plebeians. In fact, some of the richest people in Rome were plebeians, and many patrician families had fallen on hard times by the time of Julius Caesar's day. Caesar, for instance, came from a very, very powerful and important patrician family, but he himself almost bankrupted himself. He almost had no money whatsoever towards the end of his career. So don't think of patricians as being wealthy upper-class citizens. Think of them as being from a privileged caste, many of whom were rich, but many of whom were less rich than wealthy plebeians were, especially later on in Roman history.